The last thing I ever thought in a million years is that you're going to spend the 6 days in a coma and 19 days in a Swiss intensive care unit.
At first it was like a whirlwind. We didn't know what we would do, we didn't know where we were going to move to.
Yeah, it was a substantial injury. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock. I must admit, it wasn't quite how I planned to end 2017.
If I'm honest, I was probably ignorant to what the Benevolent Fund could have done. My situation, to me, was quite unique.
I was snowboarding and skiing in the Swiss Alps. On the 5th day of the 7-day trip, I slid down an ice slope. I went off a 72-metre ravine and got massive injuries on the way down, lay on the ledge, trying to fight for my life to get recovered with 9 broken ribs, 2 collapsed lungs, my spine broken in 4 places. And I go into a coma for 6 days. The same day of the accident, my wife was given the payment from the Benevolent Fund, which allowed her and her dad to fly over to Geneva. It was a further 25 days before I actually was in a position to go back to the UK. And at no time did I have to pursue a claim form, got to do this much. It really was taken care of. It was like you had somebody in the background who you could trust to do everything you needed, who had your own well-being in mind. One day, I had a life-changing accident. At the time, it was the darkest thing that ever could have happened. But now, I have to say, there's a lot of positives to it, and it's helped a lot of other people. People say, oh, you've done very well but I haven't done it on my own. I've had massive support along the way. Benevolent Fund have played a huge part. Things would be very different if I hadn't have had that support. I'm hugely grateful for it.
I was deployed to an incident. I reported 2 people breaking into a house. When the officers arrived, they caught 1 person in the act and 1 person was lost going into gardens. So we went off tracking for the suspect. We ended up into school grounds at the back of the premises. I put Gil over the fence, and then as I started to climb over the fence, I slipped. And it was a palisade fencing. Then one of the spikes went straight into my left bicep and then tore the skin open, and then I fell off the fence. We found the guy, he was detained, and then that's when it all started to get a bit silly at that point really. I lost a lot of blood, ended up collapsing on the floor, and then they gave me first aid and tourniqueted my arm and everything until I got rushed off to hospital in an ambulance. The Benevolent Fund, they were pretty much the first people that got in touch with me the next day. Any police officer can understand that when you're taken off duties, if you are on an extended period of sickness, it does invariably mean a loss of earnings. So things like holidays, perhaps they're put to one side, and they said they'd like to offer myself and the family a week down at Peel's Retreat in Weymouth. Total surprise. I hadn't got a clue it was coming. It was fantastic. I've been a member of the Benevolent Fund ever since I joined the police. It's one of those things, I guess, it's a bit like healthcare. I guess you don't really realise how important it is until you have to use it.
I was dispatched to a job which was an ambulance backup shout. As we TA'd at the job, there was confirmed it was a firearms incident. There was a male, he'd been shot in the side by a shotgun. It was important, we just needed to get him to hospital. I stayed on the back of the ambulance and we blue lighted there. Once I got there, I noticed the crowd of people he was with. 2 of them was my neighbours. I got back to the station. The intel that was put on the log showed that they were gang members, an organised crime gang of supplying drugs and firearms. So I immediately went to my inspector and he turned around and said, it's advisable not to go home. It was awful because that's where, that was our home. We didn't want to leave it. Luckily we were renting, so that was a little bit easier. But to have to up your life and move and not have anywhere to move to, it was horrible. We didn't have the funds just to be able to rent a new place. We still had rent to pay on the old house. So my inspector asked if I was in the fund, which I was, and then that's when I made a call and they managed to help us. They helped pay the rent on the old house, so we didn't have 2 rents to pay. And if it wasn't for the fund, we wouldn't have been able to move. When the incident happened, I'd only been in 2 years. I'd just come out of my student officer phase. But I remember sitting in Tally Ho and the fund came in and they spoke to us and they said it was £2 a month. And if it wasn't going to help me, it will certainly help other people, and that's my thought on it. So both myself and my partner pay into it, because it, like I say, if it doesn't help you, it's definitely going to help someone else, and it did help me in the end. It was, if I didn't sign up for them, I don't know what I would have done.
At the time, my wife was quite seriously ill. She was at the point of like almost life and death, without sounding melodramatic. She had one particularly major operation which knocked her off her feet for quite a while, and as a result she couldn't work. And financially we were struggling to make ends meet. I've got 2 young children, so trying to like juggle everything at the same time, as well as being a 24/7 police officer, was quite difficult. So they gave us a grant which allowed us to have some work done in the house, an adaptation, an extra bathroom essentially fitted into the house to allow ease of movement for my wife, and also for the family to carry on as best we could normally. If I'm honest, without the assistance of the Benevolent Fund, we wouldn't have made the healing process for my wife, for myself, for my children as easy as it actually was. It was a very traumatic time. I can't thank them enough. It's probably the best decision I ever made now, in hindsight, when I joined the police. I can't stress enough how much I would recommend joining the Benevolent Fund. For just a small amount, you're not only helping your colleague, you could be helping your children, you could be helping your partner, you could be helping any member of your immediate family. It's a nominal amount, and the benefits potentially could be life-changing, so I can't stress enough, make sure you join.